Welcome to the MCTV Weekly News Update. I'm Lindsey Clark.
And I'm Briana Flynn. We have a lot in store for you tonight, so let's jump right into our top story. On Easter Sunday, Google chose to honor Cesar Chavez on the 86th anniversary of his birthday on their homepage instead of the usual Easter eggs. Many believe there is now a, quote, war on Easter in addition to a, quote, war on Christmas. Cesar Chavez was a labor organizer who started the United Farm Workers in California in the 1960s. He was known for mixing Christian spiritual practices with his political protests. Although Latino groups honor the civil rights leader and see him as an inspirational figure, many others have criticized him for viewing undocumented workers as a threat to unions. In 2011, Barack Obama proclaimed March 31st as Cesar Chavez Day. The decision to honor Chavez on Google's homepage angered many religious people and conservative publications. A conservative blog, Twitchy, criticized Google for featuring the image of Chavez and commended the search engine Bing for posting an image of Easter eggs. Many critics confuse Cesar Chavez with former president of Venezuela, Hugo Chavez, saying, quote, Google can't celebrate Easter but can celebrate a dictator's birthday? In the past, Google has not normally honored the Christian holiday with doodles. A search for the term Easter in Google's Doodle Finder only turned up one example from the year 2000.
In other news, the rising threat of military action in Korea has many around the world worried for their safety. After recent tests of nuclear weapons, North Korea has been pushing the possibility of nuclear warfare against both the United States and its neighbor, South Korea, I'm sorry. On Monday, South Korean President Park Geun-hye announced she is not taking these threats lightly. From the north, there is a pressure of nuclear action, and from the south, there is a threat of retaliation to any verbal or physical danger. Park said in her announcement that, quote, I consider the current North Korean threats very serious. If the North attempts any provocation against our people and country, you must respond strongly at the first contact with them without any political consideration. Since taking power in 2011, Kim Jong-un has beefed up the North's nuclear arsenal and has even declared that the Korean peninsula has reverted to a state of war, according to the New York Times. Analysts in South Korea are worried about Kim, and they are saying that he is, quote, certainly more aggressive than his father, and behind his aggressiveness is a confidence following the North's successful launching of a long-range rocket and its nuclear test. With Seoul in its first target, North Korea is looking to Washington and major U.S. cities as a secondary mark. It may not be too long before President Obama has to step into his shoes as commander-in-chief. Well, that's some scary stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've been hearing about this for like a little while now, but now it's like getting really intense.
It's all around. My roommate, we've been talking about it. It's scary.
Yeah,
you know?
No, absolutely. Yeah. I agree.
Totally.
Cuban blogger Yauni Sanchez hadn't been able to travel outside the country for the last 5 years. Now she's on a whirlwind global tour. CNN's Patrick Ottman reports on her agenda and her busy itinerary.
Denied the right to leave Cuba for years, blogger and government critic Yauni Sanchez is now making up for lost time.
I'm going to go to all the places that for 5 years I couldn't visit. When I return in 3 months, having done my own trip around the world in 80 days, I will be a better citizen, I will be better informed, a better reporter, and a better Cuban.
And better traveled. Yauni Sanchez left Cuba in February, shortly after the government of Raul Castro abolished the country's exit visa requirement. It's still not clear why, after so many denials, they allowed such an outspoken critic to leave the island. She has since visited Brazil, Mexico, the Czech Republic, the United States. At each stop blasting what she calls the heavy hand of the Cuban government. She has taken her call for change in Cuba to meetings at the White House and with top Cuban-American lawmakers. It's a long way from her humble beginnings, blogging about the frustrations of living in a Havana apartment building without a working elevator and trying to feed her family off meager government rations. Even though her blog is no longer blocked in Cuba, Sanchez is still better known outside her country. Most Cubans we spoke to here on the streets of Havana say they don't read Yauni Sanchez's blog. The internet remains tightly controlled and very slow here in Cuba. And as well, Cubans say they are already aware of their country's problems.
Got English, French.
Sanchez's writings reach far and wide with the help of volunteers like MJ Porter, volunteer in Seattle, like Aiuto, MJ Porter, who helped translate the Border in Seattle blog from Spanish into 20 other languages. Porter says Sanchez challenges the appeal of the Cuban Revolution overseas.
I think she's made an impact that people will look back decades from now and maybe appreciate the impact that she has had in changing people's perspective. I like to say, you know, hopefully there's just maybe.
It's not clear yet if the blogger will pay a price in Cuba for her outspokenness. Sanchez says friends warn her that the Cuban government, which calls her a mercenary in the employ of the CIA, could prevent her return to Cuba.
I don't think that could happen. If it did, all it would mean is that instead of returning legally via an airport, I would come back on a raft.
On Monday, Sanchez takes her tour to Miami, the heart of the anti-Castro exile community. And no doubt her criticisms will again hit close to home. Patrick Ottman, CNN, Havana.
Louisville's men's college basketball guard Kevin Ware suffered a gruesome injury on Sunday, causing the NCAA Midwest Regional Final game to be interrupted just 6 minutes before halftime. While attempting to recover a three-point shot made by the opposing Duke player, Tyler Thornton, Ware landed on his right leg, causing a break so severe that the bone was sticking out of his skin. His teammates and coach stopped the game, traumatized by the injury. Richard Pinto, the man who recruited Ware for the Cardinals, was just 25 feet from the guard when the injury occurred. Through the chaos, he expressed that, quote, "I'm only 30, but I've never seen something like that. It felt like canceling the game. You almost feel silly cheering after that." Before Ware was carried away on a stretcher, his fellow players gathered around him. He reassured everyone, saying, quote, "Don't worry about me. I'll be okay. You guys go and win this thing." Ware was successfully treated for his injuries at Indiana University Health Methodist Hospital. He hopes to join the Cardinals as they advance to the Final Four and eventually get back on the court once he recovers from the surgery. Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And you said you saw this, or
I saw the video. I wasn't watching it live.
I couldn't watch it. It's just like,
I saw everybody's tweets, and then I was like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
So I went and checked.
Oh my
But
gosh.
it was terrible. I hope that he gets well soon.
Oh, me too. That's too bad.
In other sports news, one cricket star is seeking an unlikely political role. Pakistan's election season is heating up, despite a bombing and threats of more violence. General elections are set for May 11th. The Taliban are vowing to kill the newly returned former president, Pervez Musharraf, and there's another wild card in the race to lead chaotic Pakistan. Retired cricket idol Imran Khan told supporters on Sunday, quote, "We will establish a new Pakistan." CNN's Nick Robinson reports from the campaign trail.
High above Pakistan's fabled mountains, Imran Khan, former international cricket star, now the country's fastest rising politician, is on the campaign trail. Elections are just weeks away, May 11th. We've just landed in Swat. It's about 50 minutes helicopter ride, about 4 hours drive from the capital Islamabad. A few years ago, this area was overrun by the Taliban. Khan's security is going to be a concern here. Armoured car, high-speed convoy. Soldiers line the road. It's the new normal for Khan, an ascendancy that has seen him turn his tiny Movement for Justice party, with just one parliamentary seat, into a national party capable of breaking the political status quo, winning dozens, possibly scores of seats from the established parties. There are tens of thousands of people here, a huge number in this mountainous region. Khan is the upstart candidate. He wants to use his charisma to change these people, to move them, get them to believe that they vote for him, they vote for change, they vote for something different.
There is only one way to win it, and that is to have a public movement against the old political houses, the old political parties.
And that's part of his pull here. Most view him as a rarity, an uncorrupted politician. Khan's got a tough political battle on his hand. The two big political parties here have been in power for decades. They're rich. They've got the support of hundreds of thousands, millions of people across the country. And they look at Khan, they say he's politically inexperienced, politically inept. Yet Khan has broad appeal. Rural conservatives here. He advocates talking to the Taliban.
the key to peace in Pakistan lies through the tribal area people.
He also won over many of the young, urban, educated middle class and is reputed to have more Twitter followers than any other Pakistani politician. If his party wins enough votes to form a government, and right now that is still a very long shot, he vows to do what he says other politicians have not and look out for the poor. Khan has no problem getting the numbers out to come and watch. No problem at all getting them excited. But the real challenge is going to be, come May the 11th, getting them to turn out and vote for him, break with their past. Nick Robertson, CNN, the Swat Valley, Pakistan.
Big names, big explosions, and a big result at the movie house. An action sequel is #1 at the box office, and one of Justin Bieber's companions won't be spending any time with him in Germany. We'll tell you why. Natisha Lance has more in your Hollywood Minute.
G.I. Joe Retaliation fought its way to the top of the Easter weekend box office heap. The second installment of the series, inspired by the iconic action figures, took in more than $41.2 million from Friday through Sunday. Retaliation stars Channing Tatum and The Rock as members of an elite military fighting force. DreamWorks' animated feature The Croods, following the exploits of a prehistoric family, pulled in second place with $26.5 million. And in third place, Tyler Perry's latest Temptation, which pulled in $22.3 million in ticket sales. Justin Bieber's pet monkey, OG Mally, won't be on his back or anywhere near him, at least while he's in Germany. TMZ reports the animal was put into quarantine by officials in that country. This is a picture the record producer who gave Bieber the pet uploaded to Instagram. Reports say the singer was going through customs at the Munich airport when the furry friend caught the authorities' attention. The monkey apparently lacked the proper documentation to enter Germany, so O'Malley was taken away and held for safekeeping. For Hollywood Minute, I'm Natisha Lance.
The winner of last week's Powerball jackpot may have to fork over some of his big payout for back child support. The Passaic County Sheriff's Office says Pedro Quesada owes $29,000 in unpaid child support. Authorities say the 44-year-old man has 5 children, ages 5 to 23. He's expected to appear in a New Jersey court Monday on a warrant on unpaid support. The warrant was issued in 2009, but was stayed pending today's appearance. One of Quesada's sons said that last week his father had hired an attorney and is, quote, working through it. The jackpot was worth $338 million, but Quesada has chosen a cash payment of about $152 million after taxes. I think that's just so funny that he was like going through all his problems and then he won.
I know,
like,
right? He got lucky.
Good timing.
I mean, after all this, he'll still have, a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, you're still like a millionaire, you
Yeah, I
know?
know.
So
It's crazy.
hopefully it all works out. All right, speaking of unpaid debt, a painful and traumatic story comes to us tonight from Afghanistan. In history class, students are taught about the horrors of slavery and how so many years ago certain people would go into slavery because of outstanding debt their family carried. We are sad to report to those who do not know that this practice is still very prevalent in third world countries. The story we have for you tonight is about a 6-year-old Afghani daughter who was traded in for marriage to repay a debt of $2,500. Taj Muhammad, the little girl's father, has incurred the debt over a year from another refugee living in the same camp as him to cover medical expenses. These expenses included hospital treatment for his wife and medical care for his children, one of whom, a 3-year-old Janan, died earlier this year when he froze to death because the family could not get enough firewood to keep him warm during the harsh winter. When he was told to give up his daughter, he said, quote, "They said, pay back our money, and he didn't have any money, so I had to give my girl. I was thankful to them at the time, so it was my decision, but the elders also demanded that I do this." Sadly, this is not the only case of this type of trade. The poor Afghani families of this region are subject to have to trade lives to repay debts. Mostly women and children are the victims. A source told the New York Times on Sunday that an anonymous donor sent money to Muhammad after reading this article, but it's not clear yet if the little girl was returned or if this information is true. Wow, that's horrible.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't know that they still do stuff like that.
Yeah, and the girl was 6 years
Yeah,
old.
it's terrible, 6
I mean,
years old.
when I was 6, I was trading Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
Like, imagine being sent to be married. Like,
It's terrible.
That's horrible.
It's so bad that they had to actually go through
my
that.
gosh,
So
totally.
I hope that it's true in the end. Yeah.
Oh, I hope so too.
Well, hoping for some good news, here's Peter Malavenda with the highs and lows report.
Thanks, Briana. If you had the chance to get outside this morning, you were greeted with something Marist has been waiting on for far too long: blue skies. Unfortunately, today was not as warm as it should be for the beginning of April. The normal high for the beginning of April should be around 55 degrees. That's 10 degrees higher than what we can expect today. The record high for April 2nd was 79 degrees back in 1963. So temperatures could definitely be warmer than what our area has been dealing with. In addition, the Hudson Valley is also facing strong winds out of the west today, gusting from 20 to 30 miles per hour. What's the explanation for this cold and windy weather this time? Experts say it's just that time of the year. April is known as a transition month in the weather world. A strong jet stream generally brings windy conditions to the northeast and significant warming and wet weather to the southern half of our nation. However, the main factor at hand is where a new frontal zone will set up over our area next week. Locations north of the frontal zone can expect cool temperatures and damp conditions, while areas south will enjoy significantly warmer temperatures. Let's hope this weather system lands just north of Poughkeepsie. For your detailed local forecast, expect clear skies with a low of 25 degrees. Winds will remain strong and gusty out of the west at 13 miles per hour. The chilly weather will blow right into your Wednesday. Skies should stay partly cloudy, and the high will get to around 45 degrees. Conditions improve as the end of the week approaches. Temperatures will increase to 57 degrees on Thursday and will remain in the mid to upper 50s throughout the weekend. Thanks to a lighter southerly wind, skies will remain mostly sunny on Thursday, and if you can get through a cloudy Friday, the weekend looks great, with partly to mostly sunny skies. The biggest warm-up comes on Monday. The expected high is 62 degrees with partly cloudy skies. That's all I have for you this week. With your weekly highs and lows report, I'm Peter Malavenda. Back to you guys.
Catholics around the world paid close attention to the Easter services at the Vatican today, and what they saw is a new pope who is taking a different approach than his predecessor. Pope Francis delivered his first traditional papal blessing in the front of huge crowds in St. Peter's Square. He called for peace in the Middle East, Asia, and Africa, and drew attention to the war in Syria. It's just not what Pope Francis is saying, it's what he's doing that's distinguishing him from the rest. CNN's Jim Bitterman takes a look at the Vatican's new Pope of Change.
Buona Pasqua.
Barely 2 weeks into his reign, Pope Francis, as he celebrated his first Easter Mass, is putting distance between himself and his predecessor. For one thing, the new Pope probably would not like the term reign. He already has done several things to show he's against the imperial nature of the papacy. He's indicated, for example, that he prefers the title of Bishop of Rome, simpler and less majestic than Pope or His Holiness. There are plenty of other signs of a different approach. The broad smile and the wave as if he's identifying with specific people in the crowds, and the very conscious effort shown once again on Easter Sunday to reach out and touch the faithful. Benedict XVI is still alive and watching from afar, but with each move, no matter how symbolic, Francis seemed happy to abandon the austere and distant approach of his predecessor. If differences have come up between the two popes, it's not been before the cameras. In addition to their face-to-face meeting, they've had several phone conversations, including one this week that the Vatican spokesman described as intense. There are the stylistic differences that set Pope Francis apart from Benedict, the Iron Cross and the more common dress. And there's already been one substantive change that has annoyed traditionalists: the way he included 2 women in a Holy Week ceremony representing the moment when Christ washed the feet of his 12 disciples, all men. Was the new pope hinting that he was intending to elevate the role of women in the church? It was something that raised hopes among Catholic women at the Easter Mass, even if some remain skeptical that he can or will be able to bring about major change.
If he is going to make changes, that he needs to sort of move forward with the times and embrace today as it is and stop trying to, implement old ideas.
Still, as much as many Catholics, especially in the developed world, would like to see a more modern church, Pope Francis follows a pontiff who did not. Disagreeing on philosophical issues may be one way the new pope can prove he's different from his predecessor, but a more immediate and visible way will be how he handles the festering problems of managing the Vatican, how he'll address the personnel changes many feel are necessary to firmly and finally deal with the sex scandals involving the clergy and charges of financial misdeeds. Vatican experts say the real test of the new Pope begins now that the ceremonies are over. A test of whether he really can change the ancient institution he now runs. Jim Weatherman, CNN, Rome.
Unfortunately, these happy Easter tidings were not heard by all. A man was shot and killed in Ashtabula, Ohio, Sunday outside of his church just after the Easter service. Witnesses say it was the man's son who did the killing. Police took a man into custody. The associate pastor at the Highway Church of God in Christ spoke to the media after the shooting.
I entered the sanctuary to try and get the people out, but most of the people that would have come out came out the way where the shooter was. So I took our pastor and his wife and a couple other ladies and locked them in a bathroom we have up front, and I hid underneath the baptistry.
A church administrator says the victim and his family have been longtime members.
This next story is bound to cheer you up. The White House pulled an April Fool's joke on the media. They tuned in for a special message from President Obama. Instead, 9-year-old Robbie Novak appeared at the podium as Hail to the Chief played. Novak, who calls himself a kid president, said, quote, "You look like you're expecting somebody else. April Fool's on all y'all." Let's take a look at what he had to say.
Looks like you were expecting somebody else. But April Fool's on all y'all. I'm the kid president, and I hope everyone has an awesome day. It's everybody's duty to give the world a reason to dance. I made it to the White House. I'm here. Peace. I think I'm stuck. I don't know what this is doing. It's kind of like an iPad, and it's just showing up the White House, and it's wanting me to click it. So I am.
Don't click it.
So did you see the video?
I didn't. I heard about it, and I think that's so cute.
Yeah,
you know,
he's cute.
Yeah.
He's funny. One of my best friends loves his video. She's always
yeah?
quoting him. It's so funny, but he's like a cute little kid.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice. Listen up. Scientists have found that the more junk food you eat, the healthier you are. No? Well, you're right. April Fools. Did we get a chuckle out of you? If so, we've done something good for your heart. That's because laughing can loosen up the blood vessels that keep your heart healthy, and that's no joke. How? Here's Holly Furfer with today's Health Minute.
Whoever said laughter is the best medicine was onto something. Because over the years, scientists have found that laughter is great for your health.
Some studies suggest lowering blood pressure. There have been other investigators that have shown that there may be an effect on immune response. So perhaps better response to someone who has the common cold or infections when they laugh.
Researchers have found when you laugh, really laugh, it opens up your blood vessels, causing less stress on your heart. And it can also de-stress the rest of the body by releasing endorphins from the brain. And that's good, because stress can cause the brain to overload with chemicals that could lead to high blood pressure, even a stroke or heart attack.
You can easily counteract a stressful response with laughter.
In fact, research shows that 15 minutes a day of laughter, real deep belly laughter, is as important for your heart as 30 minutes of exercise 3 times a week. Now, that doesn't mean you should skip the gym and watch Woody Allen movies every day, but giggling a lot is therapeutic. Best way to chuckle? Doctors recommend stay in touch with those you love and love being with. Studies have shown that people with a strong friend base are healthier both mentally and physically. For today's Health Minute, I'm Holly Furfer.
Did you know that?
I didn't know. I didn't know that at all.
I heard something about some guy who was terminally ill. He watched Leno every night, and apparently because he would laugh every single night, he recovered from whatever he was having, and he survived. He lived, yeah, just from laughing.
Funny.
Right?
Let's keep that in mind.
Yeah, laugh a lot, you know. Well, that looks like that's all we have for you tonight. Until then, I'm Lindsey Clark.
And I'm Briana Flynn. Thanks for stopping by.